Hello everyone and welcome to the Final Bell podcast, brought to you each week by our friends at Morris Personal Finance Solutions, expert advice and finance specialists all in one place. I am opening the pod today. I have the run sheet in front of me. I've been given the reins because our mate Cameron Lingy is on a well-earned 2-week road trip holiday. Shout out to you, Lingy. I hope it's going really well. I'm not going to lie, listeners. This is my second take. So we had an outtake to start right off the top. But we're going to go onwards from here. And I must admit, I went a bit early on hinting at who the co-host would be last week. So apologies to everyone who was picking up on the clues. I spoke to a particular patron at the game on the weekend I gave even more confirmation to, but that's okay. I am so excited to have a returning co-host, my great friend and teammate, Renee Garing. How are you, Renee? Welcome.
Thank you, Meg. I'm really excited to be here. I'm not Sean and I'm not a past player. Very different to
You're
that,
a
but I
current
am
player.
excited to be here and have a chat, all things Geelong.
Who'd have thought? You and I to the final bell. We're going all right, aren't we? And do you know who'll be particularly excited about it? I know you won't like me mentioning them, but Heather and Trev.
Oh, Heather and Trev. Yes, my mum and dad do love the podcast. They listen to it and then they watch it on YouTube and they tell me you're doing a great job, and I have listened in myself and I completely agree with all those comments about how well you're doing on this podcast. So,
well, we used to ask on our W podcast, we'd start with a bit of how you going, what are you up to, what have you got for me, and how are you? We haven't checked in. I'm sure we'll get to AFLW later on, but how are you going this Tuesday?
Yeah, going well. I'm enjoying all things mum life and footy, and I was just chatting to someone downstairs. This is the first time I've been able to really give all things footy, not balancing full-time work outside of that this season. And obviously last year a little bit different in itself, having a baby, but prior to that, the balance of full-time work alongside, and I know you're still in that balance of wearing those two hats, but it's been really, really nice to be able to do all the extras and put your hand up for things within the community and all of those things like this morning that, I'll get a babysitter, yes, I'll come along and loving it.
You're probably selling yourself short saying that you weren't, that you've been too busy in the past and that you're not doing some forms of work at the moment, because I know how busy you keep yourself, but it's a really good feeling to be able to pour yourself into this time of year, isn't it? To think we're just excited about what's ahead and, for all intents and purposes, it's sort of full-time footy.
Yeah, and that's great. And what about you?
I'm going well. Off the mini break, we have a mini break in the program. I must say my love of sport when it's on the other side of the world is costing me some hours sleep. It's the battle between should I watch the cricket and learn all things about leadership and just get around Pat Cummins, and then last night the Women's Ashes Day 5, and I'm thinking this is such good learning, but I need to practice what I preach and get my rest and recovery in. So when Ash Gardner tore through the English last night, I thought, thank you, early to bed. So I'm feeling good, and it's training day. So, it's training day and it's podcast day. So it's good. And I guess what makes it even better, and the general aura vibe in our voices, is the Cats had a great win at home, didn't they?
They had a great win, and we had the privilege of coming, bit of a team outing to come and support the boys, and what a great game it was, and that final quarter, still riding off that, I think those 6 goals in that final quarter and getting over the line in a really great win against a great outfit.
How confident were you going in? So it was Geelong, Melbourne. We had some amazing games at GMHBA against the Ds. They'd come off a win against Collingwood. Of course, I believe they had the bye, and we'd gone well against the Bulldogs. Had a good half against Port. I was lock and loaded, we are going to win this game. Were you similarly positive?
I had twos and throws going into the game. I think knowing when we bring it, but knowing how strong Melbourne are. But as we walked into the ground, I'm like, yep, we've got this.
Yeah,
home
it was
ground,
retro
we're
round. Everyone was buzzing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it was great to see them execute that, and obviously so many contributors on the ground, and seeing some of those young players step up, which I'm sure we'll chat more about in their roles on the day. Yeah,
so the final score was 11-12, 78 the Cats to Melbourne 8-15-63. Let's, start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
Yeah.
First quarter, so we have Reece Stanley back in the team. As you said, the Melbourne midfield is, a challenge. We've got dual All-Australian sort of ruckman against, and I thought Jack Viney was incredible early. They didn't have Clayton Oliver, but you've got Petrarca, and the conditions in an evening were such that it had been drizzling. You're thinking this will be a really contested game, and that's probably where the Cats have been a bit hot and cold in recent weeks. So, I mean, the stage was set. What were your impressions early?
Yeah, it was a bit of a slog early, wasn't it? I think both teams, the pressure was hot, I think, and Geelong brought that from the very beginning. I think there was a number of errors on Melbourne's behalf because the pressure by Geelong was just there. And look, I think that Stengel goal early on, I was like,
I want to ask you about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great start. I mean, he's on the boundary. I'm watching him line up for it, and I'm thinking the way he's holding the ball, I'm going, he's been to the Tom Hawkins school of kicking it from left to right.
Yeah.
He really had that angle going, and it was sweet off the boot. And you're right, you started to think,
and that just really set the tone when you're kicking goals like that. And then from there, I think
Tanner Bruins one went through.
Yeah, that first quarter, we were really putting that pressure on and got some scores on the board.
We were. So it started well. You're thinking, good.
Yep.
And then that really awful incident with Gary and Jez. It was a pretty eerie feeling at the ground when it happened, and you just ultimately feel awful for all involved. But really worried about Jez's well-being.
Yeah, definitely. It's a sickening feeling when you see that. And I think I'd actually watched the incident, and the ball would keep going on, and people were watching that, and I'm like, no, someone like Jeremy Cameron's down here. And you just see the crowd just went quiet, and I think it was 8 minutes of stop play, but it felt like a lot longer than that. And when he wasn't moving, often you see someone potentially head knock, and then you're like, oh, they're moving again, they're okay. But
it was very hard to tell from the crowd, wasn't it? I think we're all sending text messages to people that were watching from home, trying to get an indication as to whether he was okay. This is not important, but I'm watching all the other players around thinking, you're getting cold. This is like, how's the game going to go from here when, as everyone said, you're not only are you now without your best player, but he is out of the game because of another one of your players, and the impact that has on Gary and on the team. I was really interested. I wouldn't say I was worried to see how that went, but I was really interested to see what the response would be like under what were extremely challenging circumstances. How do you feel when that happens to a player in the field and when there's a stop play?
Yeah, we've had a few injuries in our seasons, and it impacts you, how you're feeling. You care for your teammate, particularly if it's been an accidental contact. No one wants injuries, but it can rattle those involved and from either team. And I know a few of us were chatting during the game, and we were like, I hope that Gary's can respond to this. And well, did he? His response to that was huge, and I think that there's been heaps of commentary around that, the way that he stepped up and performed and really went on with the game and did all that he could, not just in the goals that he scored or the opportunities he had in front of goal, but his impact to help us get inside 50s, and then also his pressure. Like, watch him game in and gate out, his closing speed is just...
That's a joke.
It's the next level. And you notice it more, I think, when you're at the game than you do necessarily at home. Like, you don't see him where he comes from to get there. But we're so pleased to see that.
100%. And I think, crucially, it started quite soon after the incident. So he kicks that goal from directly in about 50, 45 metres directly in front. He's such a beautiful set shot for goal. He's such a straight kick. So I think, and his response to that, like his celebration, I think gave a little bit as to, how determined he was to then get on with the game and to, in inverted commas, sort of be the man from that point on. And it really did seem to have quite a material impact on the game. I don't know structurally how much it changed, but it seemed from that point on that, Hawke then played further up the ground. We love his score involvements generally, like his, and his goal assists. But to see him sort of create a contest at the halfway point and then have goals, which seemed a little bit different, to my eye, seemed different to how we traditionally score. I think in previous weeks we've noticed and noted the dependence on clearance and scoring from centre bounces and making sure we're playing front half footy. But I can think of several instances throughout the game where we're going from end to end, and as you say, Gary's standing up and using his incredible speed. There was that one where the ball was on the ground. It was him v Stephen May, and I just thought, I do not. Oh, this is love being a Cats fan, hate being a key defender. That's how
those chase down. I'm like, I'm coming, but you are off. Moments, and that's it though. A lot of our scores were that speed on the game, beating them at the back, which isn't necessarily all the way that we play a week in and week out. So. Yeah,
but it is dependent, isn't it, on small forwards, much like yourself. Yeah. Do you want to speak to like Brad Close's game, Stengel's game, even the mids that were rotating through there?
Yeah, look, I think that the pressure they were bringing around the ball created that getting the ball, and then we had space for our forwards to work into and in different ways, obviously. But, yeah, Brad Close was huge in terms of his involvement, not just obviously scoring-wise, but his entries.
Just that career high 24 disposals, like he was in it.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't just him, but some of the forwards, even Tom Hawkins himself, the composure at times to we didn't just put it towards the goal square. I think it was that last minute, there's someone out.
There's the Brian Myers school of forward 50 entries.
Yeah, even Mitch Duncan, choosing the right option, he's out there in space rather than kick it to where all the numbers are or where they're headed, which was really smart play, and Brad Close was key in that.
Yeah, it was good to see the sort of cream rising. Back to Gary, the only thing I also wanted to note was that I was watching all the shows last night, and they were saying it was his highest rated 3 consecutive games in his career. So he's in, if you put it that way, in career best form, which is really exciting, and so well supported, as you say, by the leg speed. And then you've got the luxury of a Tom Hawkins, and we didn't have Jeremy on the weekend, but, Jeremy will hopefully come back into the team at some point. So anyone else we want to give a shout out to?
Look, I think the midfield, we've mentioned it briefly around Tanner Bruin. Even like I think that Tom Atkins in there as well. Like the three of them, Max Holmes, Blitz halves got to go in there with Reece Stanley back in, and then we had others pop in and out. But again, we talk about the Melbourne midfield, yes, missing Oliver, but as a whole, they held their own, if not more. I think we're down just in clearances overall in that game, but we had enough opportunity, and particularly in open play, in live play, they were putting on the pressure where needed or getting involved in the attack to put speed on the game, and especially in those conditions. Sometimes it didn't have to be clean footy, but it was just get it moving forward. We've got players in front, and then we'll make something out of it. Yeah,
I want to hold the conversation around Tom Atkins to one of our listener questions, which I very much enjoyed. So we'll really get into his game then. As you say, the midfield, the sort of repercussions and ripple effects of Reece Stanley coming back in, and it allowing Blitz to play as a traditional ruck rover and challenge forward. We love to use the word challenge forward in our challenge forward in our training at the moment. And to see him get one of those final term goals, and just let's go through those 6 goals. I'll see if I can watch them. Yeah. I've watched them enough to have them replayed. You've got the first one, Ollie Henry. Brody Grundy was in that marking contest. Ollie flies, and he's, pressure on. We're 2 goals down at that point. Yep. So he executes. With Zach Guthrie. I mean, the man is playing some really good footy. And you love a defender goal. But just the class of it is a check side on the run from 40 metres out. Yeah. And just the passion of the celebration. I'm all about the passion of the celebration. Yeah. And he was just he was loving it. So we've got those 2. Yeah. Who was next? Blitz?
Blitzhouse might be next.
I think Blitz.
Mark.
We're going to talk about the passage of play that led to that goal. So Blitz challenges forward. That was from a back half. I'm pretty sure that was an end-to-end goal. Went end-to-end again for the Gary. There was Gary Rowan
speed.
Then we've got Duncan.
Yes.
Again. We had multiple celebrations to the crowd down here, which we love to see. And was there one more? Tanner Bruin, just icing. Love a first quarter and a last quarter goal. He's building. He's such a young player, and not to repeat myself, but the passion that he shows. I mean, he's a local player, and he loves the hoops. I'm just going to say it for him. He loves the hoops. He loves being a match winner, and he loves the moment. How good's that to see?
Oh, I love it. And I listened actually to, he was involved in some media during the week and talked about that and that he's loving being back home and what that brings, not just when he's playing the game and the intensity around it, but it's the knowing that your family's out there watching game week in, week out, and what comes with being back in your hometown and representing the club and having that opportunity to step up. Like, I think he's and he's doing it. He's taking advice from the likes of Patrick Dangerfield and the guidance from off the field, but really taking it and owning it, getting that opportunity and making the most of it.
I love Tanner. He's such a fantastic presence around the club. Ran into him at Cafe Unpacking Australia a few weeks ago, and he's that classic Geelong person who's really sort of community minded, has great intent and loves his footy. So that's good. I can't wrap up our summary of the game without a little mention of the back line. Tom Stewart, again, outstanding. He had 22 disposals and 9 marks, and I thought, he led really well in a game that had significant leadership challenges. Paddy's out of the team again, and you have that moment that's involving some of your key players. So I loved his work there. And, Sam de Koning and Jack Henry are building really nicely following interrupted seasons. I thought Jack, who I saw had 100% game time. I didn't mind mentioning that to our AFLW coaches.
When you needed, you needed.
When you needed, you needed. Yeah. I just thought he was great aerially. Athletic and, DK's had a bit, as we said, a bit going on. He's played in different positions, but he's settling behind the ball now. So I think the back line's in really good shape, and it might be further strengthened going forwards. We'll get to who's available soon, but, Asava's probably back in the mix as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head with Stewie in terms of just that leadership back there. And there were some moments where you're like, oh, Melbourne's out here. Yeah. Stewie's there. Look, the smother on the far side of the ground.
Gosh,
I think
point.
It was an error by us. Got out fast, and I'm like, Stewie saved the day again. But those are moments where he's like, we need something here. Mark's, the contest, we know the work he does on the ground deep inside 50 when it's those pressure moments as a defender when you're like, we need to get it out of here, and he does that.
Get it through the goals, get it out of here, do something. Yep. No, I think they did really well behind the ball because, it was sort of a strong defence v strong defence, and it was good to come out on top.
Definitely.
So, on to the run home. We're now sit 7-7. We're in 9th position. I think we're a percentage or two behind the Adelaide Crows in 8th, but we are in that sort of log jam of the ladder. Have you been keeping your eye on... Like, I'm watching all the games around trying to work out what's best for the Cats. Are you invested like that?
Not to the extent of every single other game, but it's more so where are we at and the people around us, and then looking at who we've got compared to, a little bit of who they have. And we don't have an easy run home, but I think that in saying that, you look at the game on the weekend, and when we're playing our best footy, we can take it to
everyone.
Teams. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, certainly right. So first up, we've got Sydney this Friday night, really big game.
Coming off a huge win.
Well, that's right. Yeah. How do you think that plays for Sydney?
Look, I think to have a score like that, the pressure, I didn't watch the game personally, but the pressure can't have been that hot to be able to get that many scores on the board. So I think that the way that we played and the pressure that we're bringing to Melbourne at each contest, you haven't had that the week before. So you've got to adjust to that. I think we've had come in off the back of a wet, highly contested game, and that's got to be a positive thing. But I think that that Geelong coming in are going to go into it
harder.
Move that game on. We're playing again here. You'd wonder how Sydney goes.
Totally.
Easy goals.
I think, and Lingy mentioned it when we played them earlier in the year. I don't know if that was when we were coming off quite a few losses. Or we might have had 3 losses, 4 losses, 1 week. Whatever it was.
The flag reveal.
The flag, that's right. And Lee made a point that he felt that once you had sort of the Woodover team in a grand final, you sort of had them in your pocket for the rest of, well, hopefully for the rest of your career, but for a little while to come. So I think that will certainly work in our favour. You've got the 2, traumatic is a strong word, but I think for Sydney, you've had a demoralising grand final loss. You've come here and we won by 90 odd points. But they'd be feeling themselves. So, it's interesting to see which way it will go. Before we get to injury update and who might be in the mix, I think a particular milestone that we've got to spend some time on is Zach Toohey, who will equal Jim Stein's record for most games played by an Irish-born player. How good's that?
So good. And he's such a great character, isn't he, around the club? And I think we love what he does on the ground and what he brings from his experience in other elite sport, but who he is and what he's brought to his club since moving over from Carlton. But
I'm
it's a huge
interested.
milestone.
How important do you see sort of who you are and the values you live by and the way you conduct yourself? How do you see that impacting performance and longevity in the game?
I think it's got to play a key role. You think about the characters in the game that do meet that like huge milestones in 300 games and so forth, and particularly those that stay and make such a huge impact at a certain club. And it helps you in terms of who you are in how you approach your recovery and injuries and things like that can potentially impact mental health and how you continue into further seasons and impact and contribute in the off-field space. And I think that it's got to help you balance your life as a whole, and clubs wanting you around, even if you do get injury after injury, or not that he has, but there are players that overcome lots of hardship and continue on because of who they are and the character that they bring to the club.
You couldn't have said it better. I completely agree. I think it's hard to measure the distance between. I tried to in a piece of work I was doing recently, the distance between Geelong and Portlaoise, but it's a long way. Or something like 17,000. It was huge. But you're right, and I think we, as a football club, to speak as a football club, value the environment that Zach has helped create, and we now have six.
Is it six?
Six Irish players who, Mark's just passed his 100-game milestone. O'Sheen is having an immediate impact, and hopefully, I think Scotty spoke about him. I think did he say 14 years? I remember being in his press conference, I was like, it's a crazy number of years that you're talking about him, his development. But, and I was able to see when we went over and tried to recruit more Irish players for our W program, that we have the runs on the board because of the success of people like Zach and the environment they've helped create.
Yeah, and I think it goes both ways in terms of the environment they create and what they bring to the club, but also I think it's the environment we create for them. So being a long way from home and a long way from some of your family or all your family and a lot of your friends and the life you've got somewhere else.
Your cafe, shout out. Yep.
That's it. If you love a club and you love where you're at, that has a huge role to play in them wanting to stay and continue and can keep their family and that sort of thing and continue to build.
Yeah, you speak about, the men often speak about just the concept of coming into work every day. It's a great place to come to work every day. And you're right, that when it makes up such a significant percentage and portion of your week, it has to be a great place. So I don't know if we're making the listeners roll their eyes just going on and on about how great the Cats are, but
we do love it.
If you listen to this podcast, I assume you also think the Cats are pretty good. All right, so as we head into after the Sydney game, to look back at the run home, we've got Sydney. We have 5 more GMHBA stadium games.
Great.
Before the end of the year, I went out on a limb last week, the week before, and said we'd win every one of them at home.
Great call.
Got one down, which was a tricky one. We've got a few more, obviously Port's flying, Freo's nipping at our heels.
It's interesting,
but I think the next month could shape really positively.
Oh, definitely. We love a home game. We love the atmosphere that's created in a home game. It's the ground. I think we've got to give credit to the way that we play the ground as well. And other sides come here, even Melbourne. I think there was a few out of bound in that last quarter that were like, oh, there's that boundary again.
There it is. It's always closer than you think.
Yeah. But we love a home game.
Yeah, we do. And so we've got Sydney, then North, then Essendon. Hopefully, I'd like to back us in to then go to Brisbane with a few consecutive, a month of wins under our belt to take on one of the real contenders. So let's not get ahead of ourselves because we've got a challenge this week. But I think the next month we could really get our rhythm back.
Definitely. And I think that the win on the weekend, as much as you approach the next week and just set in, win or lose, you focus in on who your next competition is and contender is. But at the same time, I think that there's got to come a lot of confidence, particularly for those young players out of the weekend, to know the role they can play and as a side what they can produce.
Yeah, absolutely. So over to the injuries and how we're going, when we might see certain players back. Oisin Mullen, Sam Menegola and Shannon Neal all made returns in the VFL. So I think they're tracking along well. Some sort of probably closer than others, but getting a number of games under the belt is really positive.
Definitely, and it is great to see Sam Menegola, I think one you mentioned last week around that we haven't seen him for a while, and what he can bring in his experience. And I think it's not just, obviously we want to see him back AFL level at some point, but what he can bring also to that VFL side and the young players, AFL listed players that are playing in that VFL, getting to play alongside some experience is a really positive thing as well.
Absolutely. Jeremy Cameron, of course, is now in concussion protocols and will, of course, be guided by the medical team on his progress. He'll be assessed throughout the coming weeks, but I think you've got to consider that, there's concussion protocols to get through, but that's an enormous hit that he took. So who knows? You've got to be patient with, and as always, prioritise his holistic health and well-being. So I hope he's recovering well. He seemed to be having a bonfire on the farm pretty quickly.
Some of his humour, I don't know if you saw a photo he posted up of, it's a bit of a close-in shot of his face, which is great. But his great sense of humour that he brings, and obviously he'll be doing all the right things in looking after himself, and the club will be all across making sure that he's back 100% before he gets back out there, and we'll look forward to seeing him once he's ready.
He'll come out of the team. Patrick Dangerfield, he's last on this little injury update we've got, but he is apparently moving freely, still awaiting the final tick-off from the medical team, but will hopefully be in contention, so
we hope
one in, one out.
Yeah, yep. And I've heard it's really him. He's jumping
10
at the
days
bit,
ago.
isn't he?
Yeah. And there was that suggestion, I think, in Scotty's presser last week that said that, if it wasn't a Thursday night game, perhaps he would have made a stronger case for last week. So hopefully we see him back for the big Sydney game. John Segler he's commenced on-field running this week, but his return time is a little unclear after an adductor injury. Asava Radicalea, very close last week, expected to be available this week, just as we're finding some form and settling in. So it'll be, do you have a take on where you'd play Sav and how that's going to work?
It'd be interesting. Like we talk about the back line and how well they played on the weekend, and it's it'd be an interesting one to see where they find the best matchups and see does it give Mitch Duncan a bit of freedom to play high up the ground, or he's playing such an important role.
Yeah, kick some more goals, Mitch.
Yeah, exactly. But and his leadership actually being at the ground, you could see Mitch directing play and providing extra leadership, as well as Stewie down there as well. So it'd be an interesting one, but in the front half of the season we saw what Sav was bringing in terms of his aerial contests and so forth. So if he is right to go, it'd be interesting to see what the coaching panel do with that.
And lastly, Cam Guthrie, he is out of a moon boot this Friday and will start weight bearing on that long-term foot injury. But it's great to see him
making some progress.
And, once you start putting weight through it, things can, I think, in terms of how rehab feels, once you start getting those milestones under your belt, you can't help but start to be a bit more positive and feel like you've got some momentum going, hey?
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully that means he can be out amongst training and again, using his leadership to help build those young players and give some feedback, but then start to get involved himself once able to.
Absolutely. Look, it was it's a great weekend at the AFL. A tough weekend in VFL and VFLW. VFL, the Cats went down to Casey on Friday night here at GMHBA. Cats 5-10-40, Casey 11-14-80. Goals to Byrne, Dempsey, Neal and Quick. 32 disposals to Ollie Dempsey, who another great game, putting his hand back up. Parfitt had 25 and competed really well, but couldn't get it done against what I'm told was a pretty strong Casey side. There are a number of premiership players, AFL premiership players in there. So we'll see how those guys go. Hoping they can turn it around again in what is a pretty tight competition. And the VFLW, give it to me, Nay. Did you watch the game?
I streamed it online. We were in Melbourne for the weekend, and we're going to stay around, but baby sleeps and as it is. But we watched it on blame Parker. No, I watched it in the car on the way home, and then and it was a bit of a wet woolly day, not raining, but just pretty cold out there. But Collingwood just used the ball better and were just everywhere. It seemed that they were just going harder at it.
I did hear one of our teammates say, the ball's not just going to bounce up to you and land in your hands.
No.
So disappointing if it wasn't one of those games.
And then the use of, where we were trying to, our entries and things and so forth, Collingwood were just there. So in terms of making the most of opportunities, they certainly went astray. And then they had more pressure on the ball to get it and scoring opportunities as well.
In positive news, Gabby Featherston from the AFLW had was impressive in the centre. She had 6 tackles and was strong overhead. Sachi, tackling machine. Emily Warple, top disposals with 24. Love a defender. I really like Emily and behind the ball. Yes. So shout out to the Warple. Charlotte Simpson, 17, after returning from her starring role in the All-Stars.
Should mention she got a best on in that All-Stars game. Yeah, which was Simo played a really great game. Obviously, we had one of our teammates, Kate Darby, coaching in that. And, but Simo played a really key role in the midfield at that All-Stars game, and then coming back in, obviously, to play her role and continue to bring what she is in that midfield in the VFLW side.
It'll be a challenge, won't it? Going, we're in finals at the moment. Got to have another win to secure that spot.
We're just out.
Got a win to get back in.
Got a win to get back in, and then to hold it.
The challenge is that Annalie McKee on key marking target. Congrats to Annalie, who's been picked up by the Brisbane Lions.
She has.
And I think the list has changed significantly throughout the year. So hopefully we'll put it on Flinny, Elise Coventry, the coach, just to say, mate, it's system over personnel. Yeah. Get it done.
It'll be a game. Williamstown's currently in. If they lose, then they're in. They might miss out on finals, so it's going to be a huge game. And I think there's still like 10 teams or something that could make finals. So
crazy.
It's every game over the weekend's going to be watched to see who beats who and could knock people out and so forth. But focus on our game, and if we win that, I think we lock us position, which is what we need to do.
Unreal, Nay. So look, we're gonna. I think we'll go to a little break, but we'll come back and we'll answer some fan questions. Love that segment. But first, we might chat a little bit of AFLW because we can't help but do that. I don't know how you're going with. Actually, do you know what I've long admired you? Your life admin skills, as you said, I can only imagine they are on just like another level at the moment with all your spare time, but still so productive. I think you have to teach me a few lessons because my life is busy, and I tell you what, Nay, life is busy enough without more life admin. So you've got the right idea. Instead, me, I might have to call Morris. That's why you call Morris. They're now bringing their personal approach to personal finance. Their team is here to help you finance your next lifestyle asset with their free person-to-person service designed to find a finance deal that works best for you. Call Morris today on 1300 4MORRIS or head to morrisfinance.com.au. Look, I always try and rate my segues. That wasn't the cleanest, but I've tried. Tried to give you a pump up and a segue at the same time.
Oh, thanks for the pump up. We got there.
I actually haven't listened back to these pods to see if we keep the reviews of my segues in or not. They might get a little cut. No, they're in. But no, we love the team at Morris, and we're enjoying our time in the box today, having a look at some training. So we'll take a little chill and then we'll get back.
Sounds great.
Okie dokie. Welcome back to the final bell. We're on to our next segment and an additional segment today. I try and get as much AFLW talk in as I possibly can, and I mean, all the more reason to with my co-host Renee Garing. Renee, let's check in. We're coming off the back of our first mini break. I mentioned on the pod last week that we now have sort of mini breaks built into our pre-season because it's quite an extended pre-season. You said you got away to Melbourne?
We did, yes. Yeah, you got away a little bit.
I did get away. I got to went to the other side of the bay, took the ferry across, went to Blairgowrie. So I have an annual, for listeners, I usually go on an annual sort of girlfriend's weekend with my school friends in June. We all love our cooking, so we got some cooking done. We had my friend made a I'm going to get it wrong, but it was like a triple layer praline Swiss buttercream chocolate mud cake. Like, it was
delicious,
divine, and we made pasta at home. So I'll be filling it on the track tonight. But that was my mini break.
So good. A nice opportunity, wasn't it, to fill the cup.
Yes,
have a sleep in for those that sleep in, not myself, but for
not
those
you,
that do
not
sleep
Parker.
in, no, but and then get ready to go into another block of strong training.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to quiz you on all things AFLW.
Yep.
Firstly, we have additions to the team: Kate Sermon and a re-addition, Erin Hoare. How good? How are they going? So they've joined the squad this pre-season.
Yeah, both really great. And we talk about that, who they are plus what they bring.
Course.
And Kate Sermon, also known as Spud, she'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Big personality. Yeah. Vibrance, happy. I think our first team meeting, she was the first one to put her hand up and or call out, and we're all like, welcome. Love that for you, and the coaches will love that. But really vocal, experienced. She brings a lot to that, like the spark that she'll bring in the forward line, and it's been great to see her snapping some goals and things like that already at training, celebrating like it's a game.
Yeah, and Cats fans will be happy to know that she is a Cats fan herself. She's a long-time supporter, so I think she's pretty happy to be in the hoops.
Yeah, so she's been amazing. And then Erin, we both played with her back in 2019, and beautiful person, really the intelligence she brings, the smarts that she brings, but also the care she has for our group. And I think even I've seen that in pre-season, the way that she's getting around and high-fiving everyone, encouraging, but then also putting in the work, and what we're seeing from her coming off the back of being away from the game for a period of time, being overseas and having 2 children. I'm really excited to see what she's going to bring.
I have just been struck, I think, by not that we don't have a lot of maturity in our team and a lot of very intelligent, accomplished people, but to have her energy and her maturity and seniority back around the team she just has a different feel, and it's so fantastic, and it's so sort of solid and dependable, and I really love that about her. And as you say, she's flying. Like during the running session yesterday, she's got the encouragement going. She's up and about. I usually take the Monday running session off from a leadership perspective. I'm going to get through, do what you need to do phase, and she's just she's turning it on.
She's running, and which we love to see.
Down. I don't even know how you get coordinated enough to get those limbs going. It's incredible. I want to skip down to some of our newer players, so not brand new like those two, but some of the younger or the less experienced crowd. So Abby McDonald, Brooke Plummer, Mel Bragg, Gabby Featherston, they've spent some time in the VFL. Yes. So can you talk two-pronged? Can you talk to us about their development?
Yep.
But also, I want to talk about your sort of really strong return to VFL, and obviously you were around all of last year, and but motherhood's come in, and now you're stringing some great games under your belt and some full contact, full training all the time.
Yeah. So, I'll talk to the girls first. So I think we'll add Ingrid Hootsmo into that mix as well. So there's a number of girls that had the opportunity to play some VFL, and obviously a couple, as we mentioned, Gabby Featherston, Ingrid played on the weekend in the VFL, and just to get some more games under the belt with the way that AFLW and VFLW not aligned at the moment, giving them the opportunity to have some games coming into pre-season. And Abby McDonald for me is one that what she's done in the off-season and then throughout this VFLW season is she's gone
from strength to strength.
In terms of her development, her confidence, what she can do. She's got so much time when she has the footy, and I think we've been able to see that in games. I think sometimes at training we're not doing full game play or for a period of time that you'd notice it, whereas in a 4-quarter game you can, and I think that's something that I noticed in her, that then she's come into pre-season with the confidence. Would you say this? You've spent more time with her in the back line?
Yeah, I'm loving Ab's develop. Everyone is finding it so rewarding to see the steps that she's taking. And the only thing I was going to add was, as you sort of hinted at, what being able to get it done on the field and showing that development and what playing well does for your confidence and how she's taken that out into how she is around the club.
Yes.
You know, reaching out, sending feedback the other way, congratulating her teammates, contributing to meetings. Honestly, it just gets you so excited. So a particular shout out to Abby who, you know, strides on to the next.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'd say Brooke Plummer, the same, came in for a couple of games within the VFLW. Again, learning some different roles within pre-season so far, and which has been great. She's not one that's afraid to speak up and to contribute her thoughts and her learning. But we're seeing her, I think last season had a couple of games at AFLW level, but I think we'll see this pre-season really help her to consolidate some of that and then take another step forward. Mel Bragg only played her first ever game of footy last year. So to see her get AFLW listed during the year, get a couple of games, even our final game in the final.
Yeah, she did.
And then we got to play quite a few number of games with her in the VFLW early on in the season. And she just was a bit, if I compare it to Tom Stewart, but in terms of being that strong pillar down there and intercept marks and
being a general,
taking off and starting our attack. I've really seen her do that at VFLW, and I think that's also helped her to come into a start of a pre-season. Last year she came in mid-season, didn't have the pre-season with the group. This year she's come in, she's one of the list. She was a train-on last year, and she's just taken off from there. Again, what would you say? Again, you're pushing back line with you.
I have to continually, you know, I get so excited about working with new defenders and working as a team, and feeding off each other, and I have to stop myself all the time and be like, well, she's only played for a year. Yeah. Like, I remember being at that stage of my footy, and I mean, to do what she's doing in an AFLW list, and she has the advantage of coming from another elite sport, which is great. But she's as invested as they come, and a real another great example of taking your opportunity for all that it is and getting the most out of it. I think when you come in at 28, 28 Bragg years. You know, it's fantastic to see the 18-year-olds do that. But I think when you get these senior players, whether it's Kate Sermon who's played footy before, or Braggy, or even yourself coming back in, you're going, who knows how long I've got? I am going to make the most of this opportunity, and then the young ones come for the ride. Yeah,
and she absolutely does. She's one that'll be talking to the coaches straight after training. What can I do to improve this? I wasn't happy. Like, she's high standards, I think. Both of us, a bit of perfectionism and wanting to.
She's got the overthinking gene, which we respect and understand, and sometimes need to turn down, but that's okay.
Yeah, but she brings that, and her footy will be the benefit of it. Feathers coming in, played. We actually didn't get to cross over in the VFLW. Played a game, played really well. Got concussion, so was out for a period of time, but has come back in the last couple of games alongside the AFLW pre-season. Played a game in ruck at one point and owned it against someone that was should have been much taller than her. And she's bringing that grunt work. She does. I love the way that she takes on the contest and the power that she brings through it.
I look at her. She's got such raw power, and her talent is so raw. She's one of those players where you think, gosh, maybe a development will take a little bit longer because, you know, she's trying to break into a midfield that's going pretty well. Yes. But to think who she'll be by her mid-20s is so exciting. Yeah. I'm loving Gabby, Feathers, Birdie, whatever we like to call her, her development. And she reminds me of having that experience that Lingy and I have spoken about quite a bit in recent weeks of going to the VFL and feeling that you are a step above and trying to put that out on the field and play in a way that asserts your dominance on the game. And I think we're seeing that from Gab. So it's exciting to think that that'll translate. But as I hinted, what's your experience been? How are you feeling as a mum?
Loving.
As a mum, professional athlete.
Yeah, love being mum. As I said before, loving being able to balance that with footy and give footy, I think, more than I've ever been able to give, considering I can do the extras in terms of extra touch and those aspects of the game that necessarily when you've got full-time hours you can't, or you have to find them outside of that. This is my first full pre-season. I was thinking about this a few days ago, since 2021, first season 6.
That's why I asked, because I think obviously you were with us last year and pushing and getting back to real full training, but now you're now you're back.
Yeah. So, being pregnant season 6 and telling you guys early on in the pre-season.
Huge.
So I was trying to show that I was fit, but I'm sick because I've got morning sickness. And then season 7, coming back with a newborn and being in and out as much as possible to get back to full training.
Yep.
But I feel like I'm in the group and I'm fully present when I'm here. I'm not worrying that I have to race off to get home because Parker's fine. He's in a routine now. So I'm absolutely loving training, and I think we would all say that the vibe around pre-season is it's great. Like everyone's come in, we're excited. Everyone's had a break. Like I think that yes, some people were playing VFL and doing some training there, and people were going off and doing different elements to improve their own game or come in optional sessions. But overwhelmingly, everyone's excited, refreshed, and ready to go. And the pre-season standard and the way that everyone's come in with intent has been awesome, and I'm loving that. I
couldn't agree more. I really feel that we are zinging, and we're zinging earlier than ever before in the pre-season. You sort of you start. I can't think of the expression, but you're going from night one. What's the expression I'm looking for? I don't know. Gosh, it's really
It'll
Jake.
To me late. Yeah.
No, Jake's got nothing. Anyway, it's a really obvious one. Anyway, because of the break, there's the appetite, but then there's the time that's been spent on the fundamentals and going back, whether that's to your footy fundamentals, running technique, S&C, dietitian, all that sort of stuff you've had the time to do that, and you're coming in with an appetite for improvement, and the availability of the list and now the consistency of having been together for a number of seasons, not having significant turnover, plus the return of some, people from our first ever season has got us going really well. And I think the challenge will be now everything's looking good. We know what we need to get out of the pre-season, and we've already seen advancements in some of our structural things that we're after. How do we maintain that? Because the first weekend of September is still many weeks away.
It is many weeks away, but we've got time to refine, and I think that's it's just maintaining that intensity for that period of time.
Having the breaks like we did.
And the mini breaks are really, I think that's a nice part of it, because you're like, I've got a 4-week block now. Let's go hard and then reset and then go again.
So the final AFLW piece to fall into place is the Irish players. They're going to come over. I guess on them and on Kate Sermon and on Erin, we had their little jumper number reveal.
We did.
So let's take what's Spud's? Spud's gone low.
Yeah.
What's she on?
7, number 7.
I do love that number.
Yeah, it's a good number. Yeah. I think she's pretty happy with it herself.
She's not much. She's not much she's unhappy about, but yes.
Anna Rose, 18.
Anna Rose Kennedy, and having met Anna Rose, everyone needs to know it's Anna Rose. Yep. It's not Anna.
Yep.
It's Anna Rose. So our listeners out there. 18, number of the great Melissa Hickey. So we'll have to induct Anna Rose into the history of the club.
Yeah, introduce them maybe at some point.
Do a
little introduction.
Yeah, I see some. They could be similar players. Yeah, we'll see.
Aisling
Maloney.
45. Now there's a bit of a story with 45. You might need to tell us.
I believe there is. Henda, our Irish recruiter, who is making his way over here to say hi, and who we have to credit for, I believe, Mark O'Connor, O'Sheen, Rachel, the gals. I think I'm not sure about, he's sort of an undercover over at home because he's taken all the best talent and sending them to the Cats. But I think she was encouraged to take the number of another famous redhead and usual host of this here to the final bell. So now I didn't think of this, but our producer Jake, the legendary Jake, we love Jake.
We do love Jake.
Just gave us the most obvious nickname ever. Her name is Aisling.
Her name's Aisling.
She's got Lingy's number. She's Lingy. Is she Lingy?
I think we start that day one.
I don't know if I was like Bluey or... No, she's Lingy.
Personality, would she be happy to take on a nickname? Or is she a bit...
I reckon yes. I reckon she'd have some feedback if she didn't like it.
Yeah. I like it.
Look, one of the early bits of feedback she gave to me, like we hadn't even signed her yet, and I had to do something, and she goes, "You Aussies just love the camera, don't you?" I was like, "All right, mate.
No worries."
She's got personality in spades. So
maybe we'll send her this YouTube link and she can have a look. And Lingy is her his favourite player. He's mentioned last week.
He has already settled.
Yeah,
he's already settled. So I think
he's meant to be.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll be a similar kind of player, but that's okay.
Yeah,
spirit. spirit.
Absolutely.
And
finally, Erin, 46 back in her number from back in 2019. So she'll wear that proudly and nice to see that she can be back in her old number.
I reckon we've got a total height of close to 400 centimetres between 45 and 46. So we'll have a sort of standard set of lockers, and at the end,
there's
we'll just
a bit
bump
more
them
space.
up. Yeah, a bit more space. So that is AFLW for you. We've broke record memberships last year. We're looking to do the same again. I heard we'd like to get to 10,000. I don't know if we're putting an official number on it, but if you would like to, and why wouldn't you be? You're so interested in. Shout out to my best mate who lives in London at the moment, who's recently done this. Sponsoring an AFLW player in 2023 or getting your membership, please contact corporatehospitality@geelongcats.com.au because the relationship we have with our players' sponsors is fantastic and the time we get to spend with them and the support so appreciated.
It is, absolutely. We love that.
We do. All right, we'll take another 2-second break and get back with our final segment, listener questions.
Looking forward to it. Some good ones there.
Some good ones. Welcome back, everyone. We're into our final segment. And before we head into it, we'd just like to note that for years, Morris has been supporting businesses and the community to generate success together. Now they are bringing their personal approach to personal finance. Cars, boats, caravans, motorbikes, jet skis. They are all about getting you out there living life. Let their team of finance specialists take on the life admin of arranging your finance so you can get on with life. Call Morris today on 1300 4MORRIS or head to morrisfinance.com.au. Cars, boats, caravans, motorbikes, jet skis. What's your pick, Nay?
Ooh, cars.
Cars. I love a jet ski, to be honest.
I've
Never once or twice I've been on one. Oh, God, they're good. Anyway, absolutely not partaking in Friesen nor the CC. Once I post-retirement, jet skis for me.
Yes.
All right, on to our fan questions. I'd like to give a shout out to a fan that I ran into at halftime of the game on the weekend. His name was Stephen Martin from Sunbury. So shout out to Stephen. He was happy for me to name him. He was interested in submitting a question. So Stephen, social media, he said he's got Facebook, a cat's email. It'll make its way here. Or as we've had recently, write us a letter. So
I did see that.
Yeah. He was into it, which is fantastic. All right, let's get into it. First question: why do some players come off after kicking a goal? This one's from D. Robinson 72.
Yeah, look, I think probably every team has slightly different plans in terms of rotations, but I would say from my experience, a goal is a great opportunity to rotate, and most teams will have a bit of an order in terms of who's coming off at certain times, and if it's your turn, even if you kick the goal, you got to get those rotations happening. So, that's my take. What about you? What do you think?
Look, it's sports science, isn't it? So we get told to rotate.
Yeah.
We're going to have a rotation cap this year, I think, but we get told to rotate a lot. Often after the goals is the only time. So you got to go and you got to go. But I will say, they're running to the bench after a goal. Sorry, I've never done that. I've kicked one goal for the Cats and I ran down the other end. Yeah. But I look at even after you've done something good, maybe you've done a big spoil. Yeah. And the reception that you get is you come to the bench, which I saw Gary Rowan get on the weekend. It's a buzz. Yeah. So, you're hot, you want to stay on, but it feels good. And another listener question was about how important a supportive crowd is. It's from Tom Z. Tom's
Bukasek?
Maybe? That's got to be it. Yeah. Tom's Bukasek. Yeah. Well, it's not got to be it, but I'm confident that's it. How much of a difference does a supportive crowd make?
I think
all the difference.
I think it does. Yeah, absolutely. And how was it the last quarter? The atmosphere, it creates atmosphere. So in terms of the noise level and how that increased in that last quarter, it was quiet at times during the game.
Wasn't it? We love our GMHBA crowd, but I think they have a settle in early, have a chat about your week. Yeah. How we going? Having a good time? How good's this? Pie or whatever. Yeah. And then by the fourth quarter, they're like, all right, let's go. It's on. We've experienced it as a W team, and it's much appreciated when the chant goes up, particularly after goal. It's awesome.
Yeah, we love that.
Okay. This was maybe my favourite question that was submitted from Geelong Footy Cards. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good was Tom Atkins on Thursday, and why did you say 11?
I love that. Tom Atkins was very good.
I'll tell you,
wasn't he? I think he might have had the highest tackle count for the game, but his pressure is there's one passage of play in the last quarter, I think it was.
Go on. I'm going to speak to it as well.
Yeah, you speak to it.
No, you go.
Your memory's probably better than mine, but
I've watched it a lot.
There he is.
I'll tell you why I gave him an 11.
Yeah.
Because of his presence in defensive 50.
Yeah.
I mean, his pressure on the ball. I think we spoke about DK and Jack Henry. They're going well, but they did let one out the back on the flank. Marking contest goes over the back. I'm thinking, oh dear, Tommy streaming past them to put pressure on that loose ball. He gathers 20 metres directly out in front, and it's where talent, composure meets system. That he had an outlet kick, and he's
finds it.
He didn't go to Max Holmes on that because Matt was. I'm getting too technical here. Holmesy was stationary. He's nailed the ground ball, nailed the release kick, and we go down the other end. Is that the blitz goal? I think that was a blitz goal. Incredible. And then not too long after, he chooses to similar thing. Yes. He's pressuring along with Bose, soccers it out of there to do exactly the same spot. I thought Hawk's turn of speed onto that loose ball. The pressure, I was like, who's that? It's Tom Hawkins. Brad Close turns it over or gets the turnover, and we go down for, I think, Gary Rowan's Ben May goal. So you spoke to his tackle his game in the midfield, but his hunger to defend late was coming from a defender. So appreciated.
And not just the first effort, it was a second or a third,
100%.
and then get it out of the congestion and get it moving forward. So we loved his game.
We loved his game. Yeah. Our final fan question for the week, and we've got a couple we're holding over just to put it to Lingy when he's back, but loved the Step 2 AFLW doco trailer. I can't wait to watch it. Are you excited to watch it?
Thanks,
Daryl.
Yeah.
What a legend. We must say that the doco's been put together by Jake, our pod producer, who we've given a few shout outs to, not enough. Pod producer, passionate Cats fan, wealth of knowledge, source of all passion. So shout out to Jake. Tell us about the doco. What did you think of the trailer?
Yeah, loved it. Look, I'm really excited to see it in its entirety. I think, again, from my perspective of last season, I was at the start of the season in and out of training sessions and things like that. But when I was present and as I built more and more into being around the group fully, just seeing the growth, not just in our on-field performance, but in our intensity around training, the I suppose consistent performance and expectation that we had for each other on how we were going to play the game, and then the execution of that. To see the conversations behind the scenes, to see those some of them very emotional moments, and you might touch on a little snippet that we've seen. Yeah, we were shown.
So I think Dan Lowther, our senior coach, loves his working relationship with Jake, and they've put some cracking things together over last year, 2 seasons, to get us a little revved up. And we were shown a portion of the doco that the doco starts, I believe, not having seen the whole thing myself yet, but it starts off the back of season 6 where we, what were we 2-8? 2-8-2?
Yeah,
but close, repeatedly close. And is this right, Jake? Is that where it starts? Yeah, before I go on. The Giants loss, yes. And, that being the end of sort of step 1 and how heartbreaking that was. And similarly, last season ended in heartbreak as well, a loss at home. But all of a sudden it's a loss in an elimination final, one that we felt we could win. And the immense growth across the 6 months, it was ultimately 6 months between those 2 games, 6 to 8 months, was exciting, hence step 2 under Dan. And to have a look, there were people in the trailer that I didn't realise had been part of the doco, and everyone from across the program, players, coaches, support staff. They're, ones that have been here for the whole time, ones, recent recruits. Think of, Michaela Bowen. Like, it takes, it's so common, but it takes everyone, and everyone's really invested. And I think we can both sit here confidently, as we spoke about in our AFLW segment, and say that we're now in step 3 and everyone's that trajectory and the momentum I'm confident will continue. So it's an exciting thing to revisit. Yes. I'll have to work out the timing of when to revisit, depending on the mood. But it's good for Jake to be documenting a really crucial part of the history of our team. Is we're really thankful for it and we'll be excited to see it.
Absolutely.
I reckon that's about it for us, Renee. We're going to head into having a look at Friday nights. We've got Sydney, SCG. There will be an open training on Thursday when the boys get up there. I believe it's 1 p.m. the gates open, 1:30 p.m. Start of the training. It's captain's run. I don't know that you'll be expecting mouth guards in kind of training for all those in attendance.
Save that for the game, the contested work.
That's right. But the players will be there. There'll be some footballs and some players, plenty of opportunities for photos and
they'd love to see you
signing your gear. So they'd love to see you there. Love to be there, but we've got to stick around and keep going with pre-season.
Absolutely. And excited, big game for the weekend and look forward to seeing what we can produce in we know it's going to be another tough one, but excited to see what the boys can do.
Thanks for jumping on, Renee. Any excuse to spend more time with you is awesome.
Right back at you.
Get a great voice for podcasts. And we'll see you after a few. You got some mum duties this afternoon?
Mum duties
and then
training.
Footy duties, professional athlete duties. All right. See you, Nate.